Welcome in to the Commanders Report, a live show here on a beautiful Thursday. Happy opening day to all the baseball fans out there. And, of course, Sweet 16 action and college basketball starts today. So we know you guys got other options today, so we appreciate everybody that is tuning in live around the world today. We got a bunch of great stuff coming your way on this week's edition of the Commanders Report live show. First, we'll get into the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. We're going to focus in on a 7-round mock draft from ESPN's Matt Miller. Has the Commanders taking 9 players in the NFL draft this year. Of course, that's how many picks they have currently. Then we're going to get into offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury and why he and his offense worry me heading into the first year of the Dan Quinn era, especially with a rookie quarterback on the way here, or at least it seems that way. And then also, we're going to be going over the cornerback targets that the Washington Commanders are going to be going after, all right? So top 15 list of the top cornerback prospects in the 2024 NFL Draft. We'll go over that. And, of course, we've got the Commanders Report live mailbag. So make sure you guys get down there in the comment section right now and use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on this week's Q&A. The only way to guarantee that you get on the mailbag this week is if you Super Chat with your question. But right now it seems like we could certainly get some hashtag Commanders in there. Producer Coop, how's it going, my friend?
It is good, friend. It is a good, beautiful Thursday afternoon. Baseball is back, like you said, Sweet 16 in action tonight. But the Commanders, some good juice surrounding the Commanders right now.
Good juice. Pro days are going around right now. Today it was Washington's Michael Penix Jr. and Drake Maye at UNC.
Yes.
Yesterday was LSU's pro day with, of course, Jayden Daniels. And the Commanders made a signing right before we went live.
They did indeed.
How do you say his first name?
Olamide Zaccheaus,
wide receiver. Now, we won't be going over that in detail in the video today just because he's a backup.
Played with the Falcons in 21, played with the Eagles the last couple of years. He's nothing special.
He's a depth piece at wide receiver. They're going to be paying him nothing. So I just wanted to say that off the top of today's show. The Commanders did sign Olamide. That's gonna. I'm gonna have to.
You'll get used to that one.
I'm gonna have to practice that one, man. But Zaccheaus is on his way to the Washington Commanders as a depth piece at wide receiver.
Is that player number 23 that we have signed?
23, 24. I mean, we've signed 1 million players for all I care.
That's crazy.
All right, so let's go into our sponsor today at Game Time. Big shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's live show. And Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. Coop and I, we actually just got tickets with our friends at Game Time for the Texas Rangers game against the Chicago Cubs at Globe Life Field on Sunday, so we're really excited to go see that. And Game Time is the perfect app to use for these kinds of situations because you get the lowest price guarantee. They have a super user-friendly interface on their app. You get to see the view from your seat before you buy the tickets, and then also the tickets are sent directly to your phone instead of your email, which is much more convenient. There's a reason why Game Time is the fastest-growing ticketing app in the U.S., and it is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Like I said, you can see your view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the arena or the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's one word, all caps, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So let's talk about this, producer Coop here. Who should the Washington Commanders draft at number 2 overall in the NFL draft this year? The favorite, odds-on favorite, is Jayden Daniels out of LSU. Drake Maye is also in that mix. And then the recent rumors is that J.J. McCarthy is starting to creep up into that conversation. What do you have to say about the entire conversation around that number 2 pick?
I don't think you should overthink it. Take Drake Maye. I think he's the second best quarterback prospect in this draft. I think you can flip-flop him and Daniels, though. I wouldn't be mad if they took Daniels. I do believe Drake Maye is the better prospect there, though, and if he's there at 2, which he's going to be, because the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams, just make it easy on yourself and take Drake Maye, man. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, and I've actually evolved on this a little bit because I've gone over these guys' film for a second time. I did it way at the beginning of this process. I always do quarterbacks first, but I've gone through their film a second time here, and I've actually seen some additional games. I've gotten some additional game films for Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels, and I like Drake Maye less than my first go-around.
Why is that?
The accuracy is not where you want to see it. He has 4 or 5 throws a game where it's like gimme throws that aren't, then they're not even like difficult throws, and it's just like sinkers, like dirts it. It's just like, what are we doing here? And I can trace that to his footwork. His footwork is abysmal. But at the end of the day, he makes some really, really incredible special plays as a playmaker. My comp for him is actually Deshaun Watson when he was coming out of Clemson.
When Deshaun Watson didn't stink.
When Deshaun Watson wasn't a terrible quarterback. That's right. So I'm looking at somebody like Deshaun Watson, somebody that came out of college. His footwork was a mess. He had some bad accuracy throws on his film, but he was a really special playmaker with a good arm. And he was able to have success in the league relatively early because of the development he was able to make in the early years of his career. And Drake Maye is that type of guy where if he can develop, if he can get better footwork, if he can work on the accuracy, I do think that he has the playmaking ability to be a Deshaun Watson type playmaker and a potential MVP candidate in the future. The thing that I'll say about Jayden Daniels, Coop, is that he's got cleaner pocket footwork.
He does.
Cleaner throwing mechanics, so he's more accurate in general than Drake Maye. And then when you add on the already ready-made, dynamic rushing ability, I think that might be a better fit for Kliff Kingsbury's spread system because there's just going to be less defenders to deal with Jayden Daniels as a rusher. And I do think that because right now I think Jayden is probably the slightly more polished player mixed with the fact that he's ready to go as a rushing threat. I think that's probably why Jayden Daniels is going to go number 2.
Which one do you think has the higher ceiling overall?
They both have extremely high ceilings.
I think so too.
I'm not gonna,
they both could be MVP candidates.
They could both be perennial MVP candidates.
Exactly.
They're both those type of guys. I just think Drake Maye, after going over his film here and really diving into the bad on his film in particular, I do think Jayden Daniels might be a slightly safer pick than Drake Maye, which is actually kind of the opposite of what I have been saying.
Right.
But I do think that Jayden Daniels is probably the better overall pick and the better fit for the Washington Commanders.
I want to shout out Dirk Logan in the chat. He says, why is no one talking about Patrick Paul from Houston? We will be on today's show.
Patrick Paul will make an appearance on today's Commanders Report live show. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Today's Super Chat menu. Any Super Chat that comes in, we're going to give you guys a shout out. You're going to get on the mailbag. You're going to be first up on the mailbag. Then every $5 that you spend on the show equals 1 raffle ticket. We're going to be doing a raffle at the end of today's show for a Commanders mini helmet. Coop's showing that right now. We're going to be giving away a Commanders mini helmet to 1 lucky person at the end of today's show. Just $5 Super Chat gets you in the running. Every $5 you spend today gets you additional entries to try and win that mini helmet. So we appreciate your support. And then also, if you want us to do some shots today, we'll do them for $10. And then Coop is a fraudulent Cowboys fan. So if we want to slap Jeffrey Cooperstein, our producer, with a tortilla, then now is your time. Send in that $20 Super Chat, and we'll slap the crap out of the Cowboys fan's face. He's clapping about it now. He won't be clapping about it later when he send in that 20. All right, so now, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. Like the stream. We got 136 people watching live around the world right now. Shout out to John. Shout out to Jonathan. Shout out to Rax. Shout out to John Rassel. Shout out to Jason. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Dirk. Shout out to Robert. Shout out to Ebony Wright. Robert Parrish. Hurley. Will Forbes Jr. John Rassel again. Good to see everybody in the chat, man. We got a good group of Commanders fans ready to talk some Commanders football here on a Thursday. So today, we're going to be getting into the latest news and rumors, and we're going to be focusing on a 7-round mock draft from ESPN's Matt Miller that was released yesterday. Some very interesting picks there from ESPN. Then I'm going to be getting into why Kliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, I'm worried about this offense with him leading the way. And I have some very specific reasons for that, and I'll be getting into that later in today's show. And then we're going to finish things off today with my top 15 cornerback draft targets for the Washington Commanders. There's lots of options for the Commanders to look at here, and there's definitely some guys that I think are particularly good fits. And then we're going to be having the live mailbag here in probably about 20 minutes or so, so make sure you use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat down there in the chat right now to get on the show. All right, so get those questions in there. I can't wait to see what you got for me. In the meantime, let's get into the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. We are less than a month away from the start of the 2024 NFL Draft, and there's a ton of mock drafts that are being put out nowadays. And Matt Miller from ESPN just put out a massive 7-round mock draft for every single team in the National Football League, which of course includes the Washington Commanders. Today we're going to be breaking down the 9 picks that Miller makes for the Burgundy and Gold during this mock draft. So before we get into that, make sure you click that thumbs up icon, like today's show if you are a real one. The real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon boosts the YouTube algorithm on this particular video, which really does help us out, helps us reach new audiences. And it really is a big help, guys. So if you would do me a favor right now and click that thumbs up icon, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, so now let's get into this ESPN mock draft where Matt Miller decides to take Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU, over guys like Drake Maye, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr. at that number 2 overall spot. This is what Miller has to say about the pick. Everything is new in Washington. Ownership, general manager, and coach. And there will be a new quarterback too. Daniels' dual threat ability is an ideal fit for new offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury's version of the air raid offense. With back-to-back seasons of over 1,000 rushing yards and a nearly perfect QBR of 99.5 on passes over 20 yards, Daniels would thrive with wide receivers Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson opening things up down the field. The Commanders will have a tough decision to make between Daniels and North Carolina's Drake Maye, but I see Daniels as the clear-cut QB2. He is also ready to play immediately after starting 55 games in college. Maye might have more upside, but Daniels is ready to excel right now. And I actually agree with Matt Miller here that Daniels is the better overall fit for what Kliff Kingsbury wants to do. He likes to spread them out, shotgun, and that kind of system. You know, I think it really does benefit from having a quarterback like Jayden Daniels who can take advantage of the defense with his legs. I mean, seriously, if you as a defense have to spread out, especially your secondary players, to cover a bunch of speed on the perimeter, it's going to be really, really tough to keep up with a quarterback like Jayden Daniels, who is a legitimately dynamic threat with his legs. I think if he would have ran the 40-yard dash this year, it probably would be in the 4.3s. And then something that makes him truly special is that when he cuts, when he's a rusher, he doesn't lose speed. It's really a special thing to watch. And as a passer, he's got clean mechanics, good pocket footwork. And overall, he's a good enough, polished enough passer to be a starting quarterback in the league. Starting next year, Drake Maye needs a little bit more time, in my opinion. So the Washington Commanders, I think, need a day one starter. I think Jayden Daniels fits that bill for the Burgundy and Gold. Now, what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Would Jayden Daniels lead the Washington Commanders to the playoffs in year 1 as a rookie? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section with a yes or a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but give me a yes or no to today's pinned question. Then in round 2, Matt Miller actually has a very interesting pick here, taking Darius Robinson, the massive edge rusher out of Mizzou at pick number 36. Now, Darius was somebody that was a big standout at the Senior Bowl this year because of the athleticism, because of the size that he brings to the table. And honestly, in this 4-3 type system that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are going to be bringing to the defensive side of the ball this year, Darius Robinson is a very good fit as a 4-3 defensive end. He is by far, in my opinion, the best run defending edge rusher in this class. He simply cannot be moved off his spot, which is something that you really like about him. He was a team captain at Mizzou last year, and he's got one really good pass rush move, which is like a push-pull move, but that's really about it. So that's the one thing that I'm kind of wary about Darius Robinson is he doesn't have a whole lot of moves in his bag, but he is somebody that has number one edge rusher upside, and he's somebody that can be an every down starter for the Commanders right away. Then at pick number 40, Miller has the Commanders taking Patrick Paul, offensive tackle out of Houston. Now, personally, guys, I am lower on Patrick Paul, and I don't think that this is a good pick at number 40 whatsoever. Now, he's got long arms, all right? He's got an all-pro caliber physical profile, all right? This guy can move. He's got the size that you look for, everything. He's played on both right and left side of the offensive line. But the technique on his film definitely needs work. At the Senior Bowl, he was getting toasted time and time again in the one-on-ones. He really got exposed in that environment going up against some of the best edge rushers in the country. And I think that Patrick Paul needs at least a full good year sitting behind a true, kind of like a veteran before he can even think about being a legitimate starting tackle in the National Football League. Because I think if you throw him into the fire, he's going to fail, and that's not something that's going to be good for his confidence moving forward. I actually break down my list of the top offensive tackle draft targets for the Washington Commanders on a video that we currently have on the channel. I'm going to put the link to that one in the comments and description so you can get my full thoughts on Patrick Paul. But long story short, guys, I have a third-round grade on him, and if the Commanders take Patrick Paul at the top of round 2 here at pick number 40, I'll be pretty upset about it. Now, coming up here, rounds 3 through 7 of this mock draft from ESPN's Matt Miller. Some very interesting picks on the way. But before we get into that, let's have word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. Guys, Game Time is perfect for someone like me because I'm somebody that likes to get tickets last minute. And not only does Game Time have the lowest price guarantee on any ticket you buy to any event, but also they have flash deals just hours before the start of your event, so you can get even lower price tickets at last minute time. So it's absolutely fantastic. I love that Game Time has a really super easy to use user interface that allows you to just get your tickets in 2 taps and then it's sent directly to your phone instead of your email. Another great feature that makes Game Time the fastest growing ticketing app in the United States of America. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase as well. You can see the view from your seat before you buy. Another great feature so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the arena or the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets now with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. One word, all caps. It's right down there in the bottom of your screen for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now we get into round 3 here, and Matt Miller has the Commanders taking Adisa Isaac, edge rusher out of Penn State. So he has the Commanders addressing edge rusher twice in their first 4 picks. And honestly, this is another one that I'm not a big fan of, folks. I have a round 3 grade on Adisa Isaac, and honestly, I could see him going in round 4 because I don't see the athletic upside to be like a true number 1 edge rusher in the league. And honestly, I'm not even sure if he was going to be a number 2 edge rusher in the league because I'm not sure if he's got the pass rushing upside to play on 3rd and long. I think that he's a good run defender. I think he's really good in that part of the game. I mean, Penn State definitely coached him up well, but in my opinion, he is not the best pass rusher, and I don't necessarily see the tools there to project him as a high-end edge rusher in terms of pass rushing. So I do think that he's a decent player. I think he's somebody that can contribute as a good early down edge rusher that can defend the run on early downs right away in the league, but I'm not sure if that's what the Washington Commanders are going to be looking for, but I guess we'll have to see on that. Then in round 3 as well, they have the Commanders taking a corner here. Same guy I took in my most recent Commanders mock draft, Kyrie Jackson, cornerback out of Oregon. Now, there's a reason why Kyrie, at his size and at his speed, is going in round 3. All right, he does have instances of bad footwork, bad technique on his film, which is why he's going a little bit lower, but this guy has extremely long arms, plays extremely physical at the catch point and in press, and that's exactly what the Washington Commanders are going to be asking of him as he enters the National Football League here, because Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr., they like to have a big, physical, strong outside corner that can play true press man coverage, and that's what Kyrie Jackson does best. It's kind of that Richard Sherman role in Dan Quinn's defense, and I think that he's going to take one look at Kyrie Jackson's film and say, this guy looks a little bit like Richard Sherman. Now, obviously, he has a long way to go to get to that kind of level of true dominance on the outside and press, but I do think he has the skill set. He's got the long arms, he's got the physicality, and he's got the recovery speed to truly become a lockdown corner in this league. And if you're getting that kind of guy in round 3, I think that's a really good value. Then also in round 3, to finish it out, we get another Nittany Lion here with Theo Johnson, tight end out of Penn State. And this is another pick here that I do like, guys, because I think Johnson is going to be a steal for somebody in the draft. Like, there's some very explosive tight end prospects in this year's draft class. Brock Bowers, obviously, Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. There's some good tight ends at the top of this class. But I think Theo Johnson, I'm probably slotting him in as the number 3 tight end in this class. He's a good blocker. He's a good receiver. He's got good measurables. He's kind of a complete package. Now, he's not quite on like the superstar level prospect like a Brock Bowers or a Jatavian Sanders is at. But I do think in round 3, Theo Johnson is probably going to come off the board. And I'd be a little bit surprised if he's actually here at number 100. I think he's that good of a player. But if he is here at number 100, I would love to bring him in for him to learn behind Zach Ertz for a year. Then we go to round 5, where ESPN projects the Commanders will take Isaiah Williams, wide receiver out of Illinois. And, this is a day 3 later round receiver. Maybe nothing special here, but I do think this is something to kind of bolster the depth here with the Washington Commanders. Receiving core with Kliff Kingsbury running all these 4 and 5 wide receiver sets that he likes to run. Then also in round 5 at pick number 152, they have the Commanders taking Tommy Eichenberg, the inside linebacker out of Ohio State. I see Eichenberg as somebody that can fill a rotational role to start his NFL career, but I'm not sure if the Commanders are actually going to be looking for an inside linebacker. They signed both Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner and another guy as well in NFL free agency, so I'm not sure. And of course, they have Jamin Davis, so I'm not sure really what kind of need they have here at inside linebacker, but I do like Tommy Eichenberg as a player on day 3. Then in round 7 here, they're going to take a center/guard prospect out of NC State, Dylan McMahon. I do think that that's probably where he's going to be slotted in there in round 7, around there. He's kind of a lower end interior offensive lineman prospect, somebody you're bringing in. Hopefully he can be some good depth for you along the offensive line. So here is Matt Miller's mock draft haul. 9 picks for the Washington Commanders here. They get Jayden Daniels to be their day 1 starting quarterback in 2024. You get Darius Robinson to be hopefully your future number 1 edge rusher. Patrick Paul to hopefully be a really good offensive tackle for you in the future. Adisa Isaac, the edge rusher. Kyrie Jackson, a pick I really like there in round 3. Theo Johnson to be a nice weapon for Jayden Daniels in the years to come. Isaiah Williams, Tommy Eichenberg, and Dylan McMahon. So do me a favor right now. Grade this mock draft for me down there in the comment section. Give me an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. And for me personally, guys, I'll give it a B. I mean, there's some good picks in here. I think the Jayden Daniels pick is correct. I like Darius Robinson a little bit, especially with the fit here in Washington. The Kyrie Jackson and the Theo Johnson picks. Really good picks there in the middle rounds. But the Patrick Paul thing, the Adisa Isaac pick, I'm definitely a bit shaky on those. So I won't give it an A here, but I think it's relatively solid. So I'll give it a B. Now, that'll be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate you sticking around with me to the very end. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more Commanders draft coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. 1 cut down, Mr. Coop.
Uno.
3 to go. And we've got a mailbag coming up here. How many questions? Are the questions coming in?
The questions are coming in. We could use a few more, though.
Do we maybe want to go mailbag 3rd?
No, I think if we get a couple
Get a
questions
couple
here,
more?
Yeah, we'll be good.
So make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on today's show. I see Jonathan Taylor using hashtag Commanders down there. Can't wait to see what kind of question he's got for me today. Make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders along with your questions. Let's go, man.
The Dodgers are sculling the St. Louis Cardinals right now.
Yeah, we've got opening day baseball in the background here, and Freddie Freeman just hit a monster jack, 2-run jack against the St. Louis Cardinals, up 5-0 right now. So make sure you guys get those questions in. If you haven't already, we'll get to this mailbag once we have enough.
At 36, what do you think the number one priority is?
I mean, honestly, like it depends on who's there, because here's the thing. They're going to probably have 1 or 2, maybe 3 first-round grades on players in their mock or in their big boards that end up falling to number 36. So, it's not like I don't necessarily think they're going to be targeting like one specific position. I think they'll have a group of positions where they're like, if we have somebody graded as a round 1 player and at this position at number 36, we'll take that guy, right? So like if a Kool-Aid McKinstry falls to the second round, which is more than possible at this point, I think he would certainly be in play. If J.C. Latham falls into the second round, I think he would be in play. Who's in it? Chop Robinson, maybe. If he falls to round 2, he could be in play. So I think that pick number 36, it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing here with that pick number 36. But I really do think, Coop, it's going to depend on what players are available. I don't think they're going to go into round 2 with necessarily like a concrete plan. I think they're going to say, these are the players that we really like. They have round 1 grades at a position of need. This guy's available. We're taking him. All right. So I think they'll have more of a concrete plan once they make that first pick in round 2. But I think they're going to have a certain group of positions that they need to address, and they're going to take the best player on their board available at those positions at number 36.
So you're not married to a certain position there?
No. So it could be edge rusher. It could be corner. Who knows? It could even be wide receiver if there's a good enough receiver there.
All right. I think we got enough questions here.
We got a question. We got enough questions.
Yeah.
All right,
I think
man.
We're good to go, man.
I'm excited to see what kind of questions you got for me. Expecting some Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye discussion. While we're in the mailbag, by the way, it's not too late to bring in your question. So if you want to super chat during the mailbag, we'll make sure to get that question on the show. If you want to get your question in via #Commanders, Coop is still going to be scouring the comment section while we're going to be doing this. So if you still have a question, you want to get on the show, make sure you get down there in the comment section and ask it, even while we get into this mailbag. So, Coop, are we ready to get things going here?
We're good to go, brother.
Let me take one more drink, and then we'll get into it.
Mystic Mountain Blueberry.
Mystic Mountain Blueberry.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. All right, let's get into it right now. This week's Commanders Report Q&A coming at you right now. Today, I'm answering your questions on the Washington Commanders right here on the Commanders Report mailbag. And we're filming this during the Commanders Report live show on Thursday. So when this comes out, it's probably going to come out Eastern Sunday. So if anything I say here today is outdated or the questions are outdated, whatever, just know that we're recording this on Thursday. But if you want to ask a question, you want to get on the show, this is your perfect opportunity to do so because we have the most interactive Commanders fan community right here on YouTube. It's 100% free to join. So if you click that subscribe button today, you can join us for our Commanders Report live shows every single Thursday and get your questions on the show. I really do appreciate all of your support. We also have daily and free Commanders news and rumors coverage right here on the Commanders Report. So if you want to become an expert on this football team heading into the 2024 season, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. With that, I'll pause and open it up for questions. Jonathan Taylor, my man, coming in, and he says, I think Jordan Morgan as a second-round pick would be an absolute steal. Agree. I think steals are like, oh, man, he should be going like a whole round higher than where we're taking him. I think Jordan Morgan's a second-round offensive tackle. Now, maybe late first as well, but I think pick number 36 is about right for Jordan Morgan. I don't think he has the super high upside of some of the guys at the top of the class like Joe Alt and Troy Fotanu and Amarius Mims and Talisi Fuaga. And those guys have like all-pro caliber upside. I don't see that with Jordan Morgan. I see him as somebody that's very technically refined. I see him as somebody that can play right away in the National Football League. And I'm not sure if he's ever going to make a Pro Bowl or an all-pro team, but I think he's going to be a very solid starter in the league from the moment he gets in to the moment he gets out. I think he's a really good pick there at number 36, and if he's available, I think he's a prime candidate for the Washington Commanders. Then we got one from Cool Dude, and it says, how would you feel if the Commanders traded down and drafted Michael Penix Jr.? So listen, I'm higher on Michael Penix Jr. than most people. All right, I feel like the narrative on Penix, producer Coop, has been, oh, he can't move. Oh, he's got a bunch of injuries. He's not going to be able to stay healthy. Oh, he's like 1,000,000 years old. All these different things. And I disagree with those narratives. He's only 23, all right? So he's not a dinosaur. All right? Kenny Pickett was drafted in the first round. He was 24 when he was drafted, all right? Michael Penix Jr. is immensely more talented than Kenny Pickett. And then at his pro day this week, he ran a 4.53. I mean, and it looked like it was easy for him. So, and all the reports are saying the medicals are checking out. And then based on the film alone, I think Michael Penix Jr. is probably the second most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft behind only Caleb Williams. All right, I still think there's some warts on Jayden Daniels' film. There's a lot of warts on Drake Maye's film. But Michael Penix Jr., man, he makes very high-level throws down the field. And yes, he had some great receivers to work with, but man, the receivers don't throw the football. That's the quarterback, and Michael Penix Jr. had some seriously high-level throws down the field in college last year. Pretty good mental processor. He gets to his check down. He processes defenses pretty darn well. Very aggressive, good downfield vision. I like Michael Penix Jr. more than other people, but here's the issue. All right, here's the issue with Michael Penix Jr. Although he's a fit for Kliff Kingsbury's offense, and I would think he'd be a great fit for this team, if you trade down, you're running the risk that somebody else takes him. So say you trade down with the Minnesota Vikings at number 11, all right, and you're waiting all the way to 11. What if somebody like Las Vegas or Denver moves up inside the top 10 and takes Penix? Then it's like, are you going to get stuck with J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix? It's like, I'm not willing to take that risk. I'm sitting at number 2. I see a guy in Jayden Daniels who is relatively polished, all right? I think he can be a day one starter in the National Football League as a passer. He's a dynamic rusher. That's the pick for me, man. He's got super high upside. He's still relatively young as well. I'm going with Jayden Daniels at number 2, and he's my day one starter. But let me know what you guys would do down there in the comments section. Would you trade down to take Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington? Type yes or type no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw an ad break your way here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or no down there in the comments. Then we got one from Ebony Wright. Says, do you think we going to draft defensive back? Absolutely. Now listen, they've definitely addressed both safety and cornerback in free agency, right? You get Michael Davis, who's fine, I guess, and then you get Jeremy Chin, somebody that I think is going to be a great, strong safety for this defense. But you have Emmanuel Forbes, you have Quan Martin, you have Derek Forrest, but I do see them getting another outside corner to pair with Emmanuel Forbes for the future, because I just don't think Benjamin St-Juste and Michael Davis is going to get the job done, and I would rather go out and get a high upside rookie like a Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon, for example, or maybe a Jarvis Brownlee Jr. out of Louisville, somebody like that to kind of fill out the rest of the secondary moving forward. Now, before we get into the rest of today's questions, no matter what happens in the NFL draft this year, no matter what quarterback they take, whatever, they're going to be wearing this hat on draft night, all right? It's the official Washington Commanders officially licensed NFL draft hat for the 2024 NFL draft, and it can be yours today when you use our link, chatsports.com/24DH, all right? So that link's going to be in the comments and description of today's show. So if you want to get your hands on this very historic draft hat for the Washington Commanders, 9 picks, 5 picks in the top 100. It's just 6 picks in the top 100. So lots of great opportunities for the Washington Commanders this year. Going to be getting a new quarterback. Make sure you get a piece of this history right now in your closet by going to chatsports.com/24DH. Again, that link is in the comments and description to get your Commanders draft hat today. Then we got one from Dennis Hill coming in. It says, should Washington draft Worthy to be our Curtis Samuel? Now, I think it might depend on where he falls. All right, if he's there at 36 or 40, maybe you think about it. But here's the thing to consider about Worthy. All right, the Commanders' wide receiver room is already relatively pretty darn small compared to the rest of the NFL, right? The biggest receiver you have is Terry McLaurin, and he's just 6 foot, right? So you need a little bit of size in there. And if you're adding Xavier Worthy to a wide receiver room that already has a 6 foot Terry McLaurin, and then even shorter than that, Jahan Dotson, not to mention or shorter than that, De'Ami Brown, there's a lot of short receivers on this team, not a whole lot of size. And Xavier Worthy isn't the biggest guy either. So I'm not sure if Worthy's really going to be on the Commanders' radar, but I guess you never know with a guy like Kliff Kingsbury that does like those speedy, shifty type receivers. Then we got one from Training Football. It says, what are the chances that the Commanders draft a safety to eventually replace Jeremy Chin at strong safety? It's not a great strong safety class in my opinion. I think there's more like higher-end free safety types this year. So I think it's going to have to be the right player at the right time. I like Jayden Hicks out of Washington State quite a bit. If you can get him in like round 3, if he falls that far, I doubt he does. But if he does, I kind of like that pick there. You certainly have the amount of picks to go out and get a strong safety for the future. But honestly, I'm not sure if it's like a top need for the Washington Commanders heading into the draft this year. But I could certainly see them pulling the trigger on a safety that they end up liking. Now, you be the GM down there in the comments section. Should the Washington Commanders draft a safety before day 3? So in case you guys don't know, first 3 rounds, day 1 and day 2. All right, so before round 4 starts, should the Washington Commanders use one of their 6 top 100 picks to take a safety? Type D if you would draft one, or type W if you would wait. Now, before we get to the rest of the questions today, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon right now if you are a real one and you support our channel. The real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon helps our channel out every single day by pushing that YouTube algorithm to push this video out to as many Commanders fans as possible. So if you want to take just that half second to click that thumbs up icon right now, I would greatly appreciate it. Then we got one from Vance Mosley. What's up, Vance? Says, why don't the Commanders have the second pick of the second round? So it's because they have the same record as some other teams. Okay, so there's like a conglomerate of teams that have a certain amount of wins and losses, all right? And the first round draft order is determined by strength of schedule, I believe. And the Commanders had the weakest, so they had the same record as everybody, so they get the number 2 pick. So it's kind of confusing in that way. But essentially, there's a bunch of teams with the same record as the Commanders. But in the first round, they get the benefit of the doubt there because of the strength of schedule. So they have to shift things around in the other rounds because they had the same record. But at the end, that's just kind of the way it works. I know it's confusing. Then we got one from Brandon Alvarez. It says, who do you think wins the starting left guard spot between Nick Allegretti and Michael Dieter? It's a good question, man, because I don't know. It's going to depend on how they play in camp. Now, Allegretti was a starting left guard. I believe he was left guard for the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl last year. He tore his UCL. And for those of you that don't know the UCL, it's that tendon in your elbow that's associated with Tommy John surgery in the MLB. So he completely tore that in the game, and he finished the game. So this guy, toughness, check that box, man. But Michael Dieter had pretty decent season last year with the Houston Texans. Started 10 games at a bevy of different interior offensive line positions. So it's going to be an interesting, competition there. Biotish is going to be the starting center. Cosme is going to be the starting right guard. So that means Allegretti and Dieter are going to be battling it out. But in terms of who's in pole position to start training camp, I think it's Allegretti because they brought him in first. Now who's going to win this battle for left guard? Let me know down there in the comments section. Type NA for Nick Allegretti or type MD for Michael Dieter. Very interesting dynamic there. Whoever wins, I hope they're better than Sadiq Charles and Chris Paul. All right, that'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. I really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now for the latest Commanders news and rumors coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. All right, 2 down, 2 to go, Mr. Coop.
Yes, sir. The Michael Penix thing is interesting to me, man.
I like the guy.
I like him.
I like him.
I do like him too.
And I go back, and you know what's kind of crazy? I know some people, the Drake Maye supporters in the crowd, are gonna, kind of freak out at me with this. I debate between Michael Penix Jr. and Drake Maye.
Well, we were kind of talking, and you said you think he's maybe the second most ready right now.
I think so. I mean, I think Jayden is a better overall prospect than Michael is, just because of the athletic upside that he has as a rusher, and that's just truly special. And that's an element that Michael just doesn't have. But Michael is the type of guy where if you put him in the right system with the right weapons and you protect him, he's somebody that can see the field, down the field, make the right read, throw the deep ball with accuracy. I'm a big fan of Michael Penix Jr. I think he could be worthy of even a top 10 pick. And people talk about him like he's a round 2 guy. And I just don't get it. I think it's because in that Michigan national championship game, he didn't play well.
Right.
And you have to take into account here that he was playing with a rib injury, an ankle injury, and he was playing against the best defense in the country. All right. So, he doesn't want to make excuses for that game. That's fine. All right. But if you're playing with 2 pretty big injuries that, is hindering your ability to throw the football,
no question,
and then you're playing the best defense in the country in the Michigan Wolverines, I mean, are you really expecting him to light up the scoreboard like he did against Texas?
No, of course not.
I mean, I just think that people are kind of prisoners of the moment in that way, where like the last impression is the lasting impression.
Yes,
and the last,
of course.
And like this is why McCarthy is shooting up these boards, because the last time we saw McCarthy, he was hoisting a national championship trophy, even though he had a 55% completion percentage for that game and only had 140 yards.
Do you remember the game against Penn State where he quite literally didn't throw a pass for the last 3 quarters of the game?
Yes. So, I have McCarthy and Bo Nix very similar grades, kind of way further back.
Which one do you have? Who's 5th?
I have McCarthy 5th.
You have McCarthy 5th, Bo Nix 6th?
I have McCarthy 5th because he is younger, he has a stronger arm, and he is faster than Bo Nix.
Fair enough.
But Bo Nix, for being a guy that I think he has the most college starts in history or something like that.
Something like that.
The film doesn't reflect that.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And that's just unfortunate for Bo Nix, but very collegey offense. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make that transition. JJ, give him a couple of years. He's only 21 years old. Who knows? He might be like a more athletic version of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? That's kind of like what I say about him. But star quarterback, take him above guys like Penix and Maye and Daniels, who all have really high-end playmaking ability.
For sure.
I just don't see it with JJ McCarthy, all right? I don't. I do see it a little bit with Penix, and the injury concerns are there with him. All right, that's like a legitimate
the ACL
thing.
concerns me.
Yeah, that's like a legitimate concern because it's a multiple-time injury.
But I'll say this: he ran a 4.56 today.
4.53.
4.53.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
4.53 40-yard dash time for Michael today. I think if he goes to the right spot, I think he's gonna splash. But anyway, man. Coming up here, I'm going to be telling you why Kliff Kingsbury worries me a bit here as the OC of the Washington Commanders. I have 3 specific reasons why I'm concerned and why maybe you should be concerned as well. We'll get into that here in just a second. Any super chat, you're going to get a shout out on the show. $5, you get into the raffle today. $10, we'll take shots. And then $20, I'll slap Coop with a tortilla. He is a Cowboys fan. Fraudulent Cowboys fan who doesn't even know about Joe Gibbs and how good he is.
Joe Gibbs is a racing owner. He is not even a crappy coach. He stinks.
He's the only head coach in NFL history to have Super Bowls with 3 separate starting quarterbacks.
Ask me if I care.
The only one in history that does nothing for you, Coop?
Nope.
I guess it does nothing. All right.
Nope.
So if you want to slap some sense in the Coop, send in that $20 super chat, man, and we'll slap the crap out of him today. All right.
Almost out of the Mystic Mountain Blueberry.
What's that?
You're almost out of the
I know,
Mystic
I'm
Mountain
almost out, so
Blueberry.
we better get things going here. Let's get into this Kliff Kingsbury segment coming at you right now why you should be concerned about Kliff Kingsbury as the OC of the Washington Commanders. Kliff Kingsbury has been hired as the new offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders heading into the first year of the Dan Quinn era. So he's going to have full control of the offense. Now, I'm a little bit worried about that. And today I'm going to tell you why I'm worried about Kliff Kingsbury as the offensive play caller of this football team, particularly with a rookie quarterback most likely on the way. But before we get into today's action, get down there in the comments section and let me know to kick off today's show. What's your confidence level in the guy? Let me know down there in the comments section. Put it on a scale of 1, meaning not confident at all, to 10, meaning super confident. We're winning Super Bowls with Kliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments to kick off today's show. So listen, man, my take on Kliff Kingsbury is that he is one of, if not the most overrated offensive mind in the sport of football today. I think that his offense is relatively bland. I'm not sure how good he really is as an offensive play caller. I don't think he makes adjustments. And, I just think that he's somebody that gets talked about like he's some young revolutionary mind in the National Football League. But honestly, his offense really isn't all that good, in my opinion. Now, I will preface this by saying, I hope I'm wrong with everything that I'm about to say in this video. All right, I hope that Kliff Kingsbury comes in here and whatever quarterback they take becomes a superstar in year one, and like Kliff is here for many years, and this system works for years on end. All right, I genuinely hope that that's going to happen, and I'm rooting for Kliff Kingsbury to prove me wrong on every single point that I'm going to make in this video. However, just being an objective kind of person that's just trying to look at what he's done in his career, there are 3 specific things that really concern me about Kliff Kingsbury's record that I'm not sure, or at least is giving me worries and doubts about how he's going to do as the OC here in Washington. So let's start with my first big problem with Kliff Kingsbury, which is that this offense is very stagnant. Now, people think of Kliff Kingsbury because he's a young guy, that his offense is like super young, modern, like Mike McDaniel type, but that's not really what it is. It's like a college-level air raid system where you spread things out, you put 4 receivers on the field, heavy shotgun, all these different things. And here are the staples of the offense in case you're wondering. So lots of spread, lots of 4 receiver sets on the field, very little pre-snap motion, right? So that's one of my biggest gripes with this offense, guys, is that when they line up, they don't really move people around, all right? When he was with the Cardinals, every single year, he was dead last in the league in pre-snap motion. That's the modern NFL, all right? And the teams that stink on offense this past year, Philadelphia Eagles towards the end of the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers under Matt Canada, all the bad offenses in the league, they're stagnant. They don't use pre-snap motion, and they don't take advantage of the advantages that pre-snap motion gives you. So that's one of the negatives of the air raid offense. All right, also, there's a ton of screen passes, man. There's not a whole lot of creativity. There's not a whole lot of unpredictability. Like, it's just not a whole lot of stuff where you're like, man, that is super creative and modern and all these different things. All right, so it's lots of quick game stuff, alert deep shots. Like this is college level stuff that he ran in Arizona that is super predictable. You pretty much know what's going to happen before it happens. And it's not a modern pro NFL offense. All right, you look at the best offenses in the National Football League today. A lot of them really utilize play action. Kliff doesn't really do that. Pre-snap motion. Kliff really doesn't do that. So there's a lot of stuff in this offense that really, really worries me, especially transitioning it to an NFL offense and confusing NFL defensive coordinators. That really has me concerned heading into year one with him as the offensive play caller. Now, coming up here, I got 2 more concerns that I'm going to be bringing up with you guys on today's show. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at Game Time. And Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. Guys, I'm somebody that likes to get tickets last minute. So, like, if I want to go see a concert with my girlfriend, Cassie, if I want to go to a Texas Rangers game with Coop, like we are doing this weekend, I'll just put up my Game Time app. I'll just be here at Chat Sports. I'll pull up the Game Time app, and it's super easy. They've got an awesome-to-use user interface that makes it super easy to find the best tickets at the best possible price, and it is at the best possible price because Game Time has a lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event. Plus, if you're someone like me likes to get tickets last minute, they have flash deals right before game time, before your event. So you can get even lower price tickets if you're somebody that likes to wait last minute. So Game Time is the only ticketing app in the United States of America that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive at the stadium or arena. Plus, it's just 2 taps in your set, and they send the tickets directly to your phone instead of your email, which is a super convenient feature. So take the guesswork out of buying your tickets today with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS, one word, all caps. It's right down there in the bottom right of your screen. CHATSPORTS, one word, all caps, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So the second issue that I have with Kliff Kingsbury's offense and just his approach to the position as an offensive play caller is his lack of adjustments. You look at his record throughout his career as a head coach, both college and pro, and this is excluding the 2022 season, but he didn't win much in that 2022 season, as you'll remember. I mean, in this graphic here that went viral a couple years back, I mean, you look at early season Kliff versus later season Kliff, and look at that winning percentage there for the rest of the season. Towards the end of the year, 16-43. Only had 1 playoff appearance in the National Football League as a head coach, and of course they got ramrodded by the Los Angeles Rams and Aaron Donald, if you'll remember. So what does this tell you? This tells you that Kliff doesn't make adjustments, whether in-game or even within the season. He has his offense that he runs, and if a defense figures them out, he doesn't switch it up. And every defense is allowed to just do the same thing to them over and over and over again. And Kliff is just sitting there oblivious to the fact that his offense needs to change, and he refuses to do so. Now, listen, guys, what I'm hoping for here is that, Kliff has been a head coach for a long time. And when you're a head coach and you have all these personnel things to deal about, and you have to worry about the defense, all these different things, and you're the offensive play caller, I can kind of understand why you wouldn't make adjustments to your offense, because you got a whole bunch of other stuff to take care of. What I'm hoping for here is, now that Kliff Kingsbury is an offensive play caller only, his only job is to worry about the offense, I'm hoping now he can implement some adjustments mid-season, mid-game, and kind of really focus in on making this offense the best it can possibly be. But after his record in this particular area, guys, call me skeptical and call me concerned. Then probably my biggest problem with Kliff, especially when it comes to our situation here in Washington, bringing in a rookie quarterback to develop. He doesn't really develop quarterback talent. Now, I know what you're saying. Jack, he's worked with Johnny Manziel and Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and Davis Webb and all these different guys. Like, how can you say he doesn't develop quarterback talent? Well, I mean, let's just face it, guys. He's been surrounded by quarterback talent, but he doesn't develop it. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of this generation, arguably of all time. And he had a losing record with him, and he made him look like a super raw prospect that most people were predicting was going to be a bust in the National Football League. He didn't develop his footwork. He didn't develop his mental processing. He just let him go out there and just play recess football. And remember, Patrick wasn't Patrick Mahomes until he got with Andy Reid there in Kansas City. He had to sit an entire season in Kansas City to become the Patrick Mahomes that we know today, because guess what? His college coach didn't develop him. So, I mean, with Kliff Kingsbury, I think the most overrated aspect of him as a coach is that people say he's a quarterback guru because he's been surrounded by talented quarterbacks that can make plays outside the pocket and outside of structure. And they say, well, the only reason why he could do that is because of the coach. No, all right, the coach is supposed to coach footwork, accuracy, mental processing, all of these guys. Even Mayfield out of Texas Tech wasn't perfect that way. When it comes to the nuances of the game, even Kyler Murray isn't great in this area now because he had Kliff as his head coach for the early part of his career. He is not a good quarterback's coach, in my opinion. And with a new quarterback coming in, whether that be Jayden Daniels, whether that be Drake Maye, whether that be J.J. McCarthy, God forbid, all right? If one of these guys comes to the Washington Commanders, they're going to be getting an OC, at least in my opinion, that has a terrible track record at developing quarterback talent. And that scares the crap out of me, folks. All right? And that definitely worries me, especially for a guy like if it's Drake Maye, who needs significant development, or J.J. McCarthy, who needs significant development. Now, I think Jayden Daniels would be a little bit better because I think he's a bit more refined. He can't screw him up as much. Plus, he's a dynamic rusher of the football. But, man, this lack of a track record of developing quarterbacks when they're young definitely scares me, and it's something that could sink Kliff Kingsbury and whoever the Commanders take at number 2 in the draft this year. Now, predict it for me. Down there in the comment section, will Kliff Kingsbury be a success or failure with the Washington Commanders? Type S for success or F for failure. Personally, guys, I think he's probably going to be a failure as much as I don't want him to be. I want him to have success. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he can develop a quarterback, all these different things, and I hope, his offense evolves. But the track record just simply doesn't point to that, at least in my opinion. And if he's able to turn over a new leaf, that'll be really good for the Washington Commanders, and I'll be rooting for him. I'll be rooting for whatever quarterback they end up taking, and I really, really hope, like I've said for the millionth time in this video, I'm wrong in this video. But as an objective NFL analyst, looking at this guy's track record, it definitely scares me quite a bit. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now because we're going to be covering and being honest about this all the way through of the Kliff Kingsbury era as the offensive coordinator. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more Commanders news and rumors coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. So, Mr. Coop, kind of a spicy.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kliff Kingsbury is somebody that a lot of people feel very confident about.
Yeah, he's a polarizing figure for sure. I've watched Kliff all the way dating back to his time at Texas Tech. While his offense are somewhat fun and exciting at times, like you said, it's not very modern. It's not super innovative. And I think with the new quarterback, whether that be Jayden Daniels or Drake Maye, they need more innovation and they need modern concepts.
No, but so my issue, and you just said that his offense is exciting, all these different things. I think the quarterback talents that he's had have made it exciting.
That's fair.
Johnny Manziel, the most electric college football quarterback in history. Patrick Mahomes. You got guys like Kyler Murray, right? These guys are dynamic playmakers outside of the structure of an offense that make it look exciting and look explosive and all these different things. But the bare bones of it, the foundation, the structure of it, I think it's unsound, at least in my opinion. I mean, there's a reason why the air raid or like a true air raid system hasn't really worked in the National Football League. And the closest it came to working was with Kyler Murray and Kliff Kingsbury in Arizona, but they had DeAndre Hopkins. And, of course, they had Kyler Murray, who is an incredible talent.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, and then they also crashed and burned at the end of that season, that year that they actually looked pretty decent. So
yeah, they started out that season like 7-0 or something like that.
Yeah, so like there's spread passing concepts and stuff like that in the National Football League, and the air raid and the air raid stuff has become integrated into an NFL system more and more as the year has gone on. But like a true college-style air raid offense being brought into the NFL, it's never worked. And that's what we're going to be getting with Kliff Kingsbury here. And, if you disagree with me, that's fine. I don't have any...
Basically what Jack said is if you disagree with him, go F yourself.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I appreciate the fact that people disagree with me because that's what makes these kinds of conversations fun. This is America. And, at the end of the day, I am rooting for Kliff Kingsbury. All right, I hope. And by the way, I think Jayden Daniels is probably the best fit to make this system work, right? Because if Kliff Kingsbury needs a quarterback to be like a dynamic rushing threat, to be a playmaker in that way, Jayden Daniels is that type of guy that can make this offense look explosive and all these different things. So I think if there's any quarterback outside of Caleb Williams in this draft that could make this system look good, it's Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I can see it.
So I'm hoping, I'm praying that Kliff Kingsbury is the answer that a lot of Commanders fans think that he is. But I'm just saying, look at the track record, man. He didn't develop Mahomes in college despite 3 years of playing time. All right? Like, Manziel, we all know, was like the most sloppy quarterback ever to come out of Texas A&M when he was coming out, right?
How much film did Manziel watch with the Browns?
Zero. And it's like, you can't blame necessarily Kliff for all of that, but like...
Kliff enabled Manziel, though.
But it's like, what exactly about this offense is revolutionary, right? It's 4 wide receiver sets. It's lots of screens on first down. Like, because you're in shotgun all the time, it limits what you can do in the run game. Like, when I look at offenses like Miami and San Francisco and Kansas City and all the new and modern and exciting things that they're doing, the Arizona Cardinals offense under Kliff Kingsbury did none of that. None of it. All right? And Kliff Kingsbury had to, or Kyler Murray, I should say, had to literally carry the offense on his tiny shoulders. And for a while there, he did.
They were tiny.
But, like, is this going to be a sustainable model for this team? I hope I'm wrong. Go Kliff. I'm going to be cheering for you next year, man. But I'm skeptical. And that's just where I'm at, man. All right, so let's get into it. Cornerback draft targets now. Let's get off of Kliff Kingsbury because I'm sure a lot of Commanders fans
They're
watching.
getting fired up.
There's a lot of people that are probably upset with me for that take.
So let's make
Kliff
everyone
Kingsbury,
happy.
So let's go get some corners. Let's talk about some corners in the NFL draft this year. I got my top 15 NFL draft targets, and I'm going to let you know which guys the Commanders should go target in round 2 and round 3 of this year's NFL draft. Cooper, we ready to get things going?
I believe we are, my
Gonna
friend.
take one more drink?
Polish it off there?
Nah, we'll polish it off to finish out the show. How about that? All right, let's get into it right now. Top cornerback draft targets for the Washington Commanders coming at you right now. The cornerback position, at least in my opinion, is something the Washington Commanders should be addressing probably sometime on day 2 in the 2024 NFL Draft. So today, I'm going to be breaking down my list of the top 15 cornerback draft prospects in this year's NFL Draft. And then at the end of today's show, I'm going to let you know which corners I would target in round 2 for the Commanders and in round 3 as well. Now, when it comes to draft content here on the Commanders Report, we're just getting started, all right? We're less than a month away now from the NFL Draft. I mean, geez, this draft season has just flown by at this point, but we still got a bunch of great stuff coming your way every single day right here on the Commanders Report. The latest Commanders draft news and rumors, all the latest buzz on who they're targeting, also scouting reports on all the top prospects, positional rankings like we're doing today, also weekly Commanders mock drafts for you guys to enjoy. And yeah, it's all 100% free. So if you want to prepare yourself for this historic draft for the Washington Commanders, 6 picks in the top 100 picks, 9 picks total, it's going to be awesome, man. We're going to be right here covering it for you right here on the Commanders Report. So my number 1 corner this year, one of the highest grades I've ever given a corner in any draft class, Quinn Mitchell out of Toledo. He's got the size you look for. He's got the arm length you look for. He's got the recovery speed you look for. And then he is practically flawless on tape. Now, the one thing on tape that you can kind of bash him for is that Toledo never played press coverage. It was all off coverage. And Quinn played it beautifully. All right, he's got great instincts, great back pedal, great hip fluidity, all of it. All right, but the one question mark was, can he survive in press? Then he went to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. He absolutely dominated in press. He was probably the best press corner there. So he can do everything. He's got an incredible profile. I think he's going to be a number 1 lockdown corner in this league for many years to come, and he's going to get out of the gate very fast. I have a top 5 grade on him, but because of all the high-end offensive talent in this draft, look for him to go in the top 15. Then we got Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, number 2 on my list. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of Brian Branch last year, where he's versatile and he's one hell of a football player at wherever he plays, whether that be safety, whether that be nickel, whether that be outside corner. But unlike Brian Branch, who was kind of an unremarkable athlete but a really good football player, Cooper is a really good football player and a phenomenal athlete. Now, he is coming off a very major leg injury that he suffered in a practice last year there at Iowa. So that might drive him down the draft board a little bit in round 1. But I really like the upside there. I love the versatility, and he's a good kid as well. So I do think that he's going to go in round 1. Then I'll go Nate Wiggins, number 3. And listen, these top 3 guys, all of them, really good players, right? Top of the top. Nate Wiggins, super good in coverage, super sticky in off coverage. Now, the couple of different little nicks on him is that he's a little bit light, and he doesn't have the longest arms in the world. But the recovery speed is incredible. He's good at the catch point. He's got incredible recovery speed as well. I ran in the 4.3s at the Combine. Nate Wiggins is going to be a really good player in this league, and he's going to probably go in the top 20 of the 2024 NFL Draft. Then we get to Kool-Aid McKinstry here, where, he's being brought down on many boards here because of the foot injury that kind of took him out of the Combine interview or Combine workouts. but he ended up working out at his pro day, ran a really good 40 time. He's got super long arms, very physical, great run defender as well. And for these teams that like to play press man coverage, like the Washington Commanders here, I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is a round 1 pick. But because of that little injury concern with his foot, there's a legitimate chance that McKinstry ends up falling to the Washington Commanders at number 36. Now, I wouldn't necessarily bet my life on it. I'm not that sure he's going to make it to 36 because, like I said, he's a damn good player. But if he's here at number 36, I think Adam Peters and Dan Quinn need to sprint that card up to the podium at pick number 36. Then also, another Bama corner, Terrion Arnold, gets my number 5 spot here. Doesn't quite have like the length and the strength that Kool-Aid does, but he's faster, okay? So if you're somebody that really values speed, then Terrion Arnold is probably your guy. He's super, super fast, all these different things. I think definitely he could play in zone or man. He's played in a very pro-style defense there, in Nick Saban's defense there at Alabama. So even though I got a slightly higher grade on Kool-Aid, I do think Terrion Arnold could be a number 1 corner in this league someday. Now, I think that if any of these top 5 guys fall to 36, you just got to take them. All right, I got round 1 grades on all of them. I think all of them could be number 1 corners in the National Football League. So if any of these top 5 guys on my list ends up making it to you, just sprint that card in, man, because don't overthink it, because these guys are really, really freaking good. Now, let me know down there in the comments section, what is your CB1, or who is your CB1 in this year's NFL draft class? Is it Quinn Mitchell? Are you a Cooper DeJean guy? Are you a Nate Wiggins guy? Do you think Kool-Aid McKinstry is getting really slept on right now? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know who your CB1 is in this year's draft class. So now let's get into the second five-some here. TJ Tampa, out of Iowa State, is my number 6 corner. Now, listen, Tampa, I have a round 2 grade on him because the footwork and the stickiness in coverage can be a bit suspect at times. But he's got incredible arm length, really good size for the position, super physical in press, and he's definitely somebody that I think fits what the Washington Commanders are trying to do at that number 1 cornerback position. I wouldn't bat an eye whatsoever if they took him at number 36. Then Kyrie Jackson, number 7 corner for me out of Oregon. He's somebody that I have a round 2 grade on, and I think would be an absolute steal if you could get him in round 3. Right now, Pro Football Focus projects him as a 3rd-round pick. So he's somebody that if you can get him and you want to gamble on it and get him in round 3, I think that, like TJ Tampa, the film isn't perfect, but he's got the physical profile that you look for. He's very fast, very big, very strong, good run defender, and he fits the mold of that kind of quote-unquote Richard Sherman role in this Dan Quinn defense where they need that true press man corner on the outside so they can shift coverages over to the other side of the formation. So I think Tampa and Jackson fit that mold and are really good fits. And if they take either one of them at pick number 36 or 40, I wouldn't bat an eye. They're both really good players. Now coming up here, my number 8 through 15 cornerback prospects here for the Washington Commanders and in the NFL draft in general. But before we get into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor at Prize Picks. And they've got specials for new and returning users alike for March Madness here over the next few weeks while March Madness is still going on. When you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Football season may be over, folks, but the action on the hardwood is just heating up. And whether it's March Madness or the fight for NBA playoff seeding, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of the year. Get in on the excitement with our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. March Madness is now in full swing, and you can pick more or less right now. Prize Picks is simple. All you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can get started right now if you haven't already by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS or downloading the Prize Picks app today and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match of $100. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. Now at my number 8 spot, I got Ennis Rakestraw Jr. out of Mizzou. I think he's a starting capable corner coming right out of Mizzou there, but I think he's more of a Fangio style, off coverage type corner. I don't think he's what the Washington Commanders are looking for right now. Last year in this Jack Del Rio system, where he would have been asked to do just that, playoff coverage, I would have been all over Ennis Rakestraw here. But with this new man-heavy system coming in, I don't think he fits that profile. So even though really good player, round 2 guy in my opinion, I don't think he's a fit for the Washington Commanders. Then we get to a couple of slot corners here, and I don't think the Commanders are going to be looking for slot guys. You got Quan Martin in there. Derek Forrest can play a little bit in the slot. Even Jeremy Chin can play in the slot. So I don't think Mike Sanistrill out of Michigan or Jarian Jones out of Florida State are really going to be on the Commanders' radar, even though they're both really, really good slot cornerbacks. So I really like their profiles, but 8, 9, and 10, all three of these guys, I'm not sure if they're what the Commanders are looking for. Now make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon right now. If you want more positional ranking videos, right here on the channel. We still have to get to wide receiver. We might even do quarterback if you want me to do that one as well. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon and then get in the comment section and let me know which position you want me to do next. Then number 11, I got Renardo Green, press man type corner out of Florida State. Now the reason why Renardo is down here at number 11 is that even though I think he's really structurally sound, and I think he's going to be for sure a good starter in the league, I have a lot of faith in him, he is undersized. So that's going to drive him down draft boards this year because he's only like 187 pounds, I think. And for somebody that's going to be playing press man coverage, I mean, that's a little bit light. All right, so I think he's got the skill set to be a number 2 corner in a press man heavy system like the Commanders have. But at the end of the day, man, that size is going to be a little bit of an issue. Then we go to number 12, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., another guy that I like in the middle rounds here, whether that be round 3 or even if he falls to round 4. Really good week at the Senior Bowl, one of the best in the one-on-one coverages. I think he had a pick 6 in the game as well. So this is somebody that I really like, and I think that Green and Brownlee Jr. are probably like the great fits and the people that you're probably going to be pursuing in round 3 or 4. You know, if you can't get a TJ Tampa or a Kool-Aid McKinstry or Kyrie Jackson, then I think the next plan B is to go after Renardo Green or Jarvis Brownlee Jr. because they fit the mold of what this team wants at the cornerback position. Speaking of fitting the mold here, Andrew Phillips, another guy that's a little bit undersized as a aggressive press man corner. But he gets the job done, man. Like, he's not terrible. I wouldn't put him on the same level of technical refinement as a Renardo Green, but I like Andrew Phillips's potential as like a rotational, even outside corner to start. Maybe he can become a good outside number 2 corner in a press man heavy system. But overall, like the profile, and it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up going. I have a round 3 grade on him. Then my last 2 guys here, Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. Not a great pro day performance, man. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he ran like a 4.5 something, I believe. And it wasn't a good performance, all right? So he doesn't necessarily have the wow factor in terms of his athletic profile, but he plays with good anticipation. He's got good ball skills. There's a reason why he was getting round 2 hype and even first-round hype for some parts of this offseason. He's a good player, but I'm not sure if he has the physical upside to be anything more than a rotational corner in the league. Probably has to go to a zone-heavy system. Then we got Cam Hart here at number 15. Kind of similarly to Kamari Lassiter here, he doesn't have the short area quicks that you want. He doesn't have the long speed that you look for. So I think that he probably fits best in a zone-heavy system. He's got good length, good size, all these different things. You know, in round 3, it's worth taking a flyer on him. He's definitely a decent player, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, man, I think these 2 guys at the end probably not the best fits for what the Washington Commanders are looking for. So now discuss it down there in the comments section. Which cornerback prospect do you want the Commanders to draft this year? Do you want to wait for like a Kool-Aid McKinstry? Do you want like a TJ Tampa? Who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comments section who you got your radar on. All right, so now here are the guys that I would target in round 2 if I were the Washington Commanders. Now, I don't think Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Terrion Arnold are going to be there. I have them as round 1 guys. But listen, man, there's a lot of great offensive talent in this year's draft. So is it possible that one of these guys is available at pick number 36? I think it is. And I think if you can get any of them, take them. All right, I do not think that Nate Wiggins and Quinn Mitchell will even sniff the second round. But with Cooper DeJean's injury, same thing with Kool-Aid and Tarian, I do think they could potentially be there at round 2. And if they're there, take them. But if they don't make it there, I love the fit with TJ Tampa, and even Kyrie Jackson at pick like number 40, I think would be good for this football team. Then in round 3, if Kyrie's there in round 3, frickin' take him. Run that card up to the podium. I think that's a great value for a guy like that. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. as well. He's got the long arms and the physicality and the ball skills you look for. Renardo Green, I wouldn't mind at all. And then Andrew Phillips in round 3 or 4, I think would be a decent fit as well. All right, that'll be it for today's video, guys. I appreciate all of you guys for sticking around with me to the end today. Let me know what you guys think about my rankings down there in the comments section. Make sure you click that subscribe button to never miss any of our extensive Commanders draft coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. All right, Coop. What do you think about what do you think of my rankings there?
I like your rankings. One guy that we haven't really talked about is Mike Sandstrill out of Michigan. He was a great cornerback for the Wolverines.
Yes, he was.
How do you think he projects in the NFL? You think he's a slot corner?
Yeah, he's a slot guy. That's where he played at Michigan. And he's a really good blitzer from the slot. So I think like a team like the Steelers that loves to use those like slot corner blitzes,
Yeah,
I think they're going to love him. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Commanders are looking for slot corner because they have Quan.
They have Quan, exactly. And I like Quan, too.
And I like him, yeah, and I like the way he projects. So I think they need to go outside corner. They need to get somebody that can be a little bit more physical in the press man system as the number one guy, you know, and kind of allow Emmanuel Forbes to be the ball hawk on the formation side. So I kind of like Kyrie Jackson in round 3. I think that'd be a great value. But if they wanted to go like TJ Tampa in round 2, if Kool-Aid McKinstry falls to you at 36, like there's some options here, and there's a good number of press man corners in this year's class.
Cassie is wondering why the show started 30 minutes early today. And the answer is, Cassie, because we want to go home.
Yeah.
It's the weekend.
It's the weekend. All right. No work tomorrow.
No work tomorrow.
No work Saturday. Easter Sunday. So happy Easter to everybody out there, because we won't see you until then. But
that's why.
That's why. Did you get my Slack? So what do you guys think, man? D. Cope says Jarvis Brownlee got dogged. What does that mean? Like he's being like put down too much?
I like Brownlee, man.
I like Brownlee. So Hurley says we need a big physical receiver. I agree with that. Because like you don't have a lot of size in the room right now. Like Terry
Mitchell.
A.D. Mitchell. Yeah, keep dreaming. There's no way he makes it to round 2. Trade up.
We have 6 in the top 100.
I mean, if the Commanders want to trade up for somebody, they have the ammo to do
That's
it.
what I'm saying. I could see them doing that, but they also have enough holes to fill where they can use all 6 of those selections.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, actually, I'm not sure if they've signed so many people in free agency where it's like the things that you absolutely need to hit, in my opinion, cornerback, offensive tackle, of course, quarterback. You probably need one more receiver, and that's all you really need to get, in my opinion. Just 4 things. You have 9 picks. So if the Commanders want to trade back into the first round, they're going to be a candidate to do so. Like if they want to trade up and get if Troy Fotanu starts falling, go and get him to be your starting left tackle.
To pair with whatever quarterback you take.
Pair with probably Jayden.
I'm in on that.
I would love that. I'm not going to lie, man. Even if it means you trade both of your second rounders, I'd probably be okay with that. Just because, Cornelius Lucas is fine, but, I mean, as a starting left tackle, give me a rookie, man. Give me somebody that's ready to play. Give me a first-round left tackle. Oh. So, Fran says, want to draft a linebacker because we do have one good one that is bit long in the tooth.
Well, you have Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu now.
Yeah, and you have Jamin.
And
Jamin. And who's the guy that they got from Detroit? Jennings, is that his name?
I don't even remember. They've signed 23 guys.
They signed a bunch of people, man. So this is gonna kill me because I'm blanking here. It's something Jennings, I think. He's played quite a bit. Where is he? Is he listed as an edge? Yeah, Anthony Pittman. That's what it is.
I'm not even familiar with his work.
So Anthony Pittman is like a rotational linebacker that's played in Detroit.
Oh, you cut out.
Am I good?
There, you're good now.
Okay, so you've got Anthony Pittman, you've got Frankie Louvu, you've got Bobby Wagner, and you've got Jamin Davis. And this is a system that plays usually 3 linebackers on the field in their base formation. So if you want to draft a linebacker in like day 3, somebody that's a developmental guy, or even on late day 2, I'd be okay with it. Because like you said, Bobby Wagner is getting older, and he's only on a 1-year deal. So if you want to get somebody to develop for the future, fine. But like it's not like the team needs to get a starting inside linebacker in the draft. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Hello, Jack.
Another one?
Oh, are you joking? Jack Sperry is in now shambles because his favorite player in Major League Baseball got hurt.
So for those of you that don't know, I'm from Minnesota, and I'm a big Minnesota Twins fan, and their best player arguably just got hurt, and it's opening day.
Oh no! You're going to hell.
Pray for me, folks. Pray for me. Goodness gracious.
All right, Spare Dog, you ready to sign off?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. Thank you to everybody that was with us here throughout the entirety of the show. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I appreciate all the real ones that stuck it out with us through 4 segments today. It's a little bit of a longer show, but it's good stuff here. Opening day. Go out and enjoy some college basketball here this evening. Until next time.